Ghostwire Tokyo was developed by Tango Gameworks and was published by Bethesda and serves as an action-adventure exploration title done in the first-person perspective. When this game was first revealed, I really wasn't sure what to make of it, but the fact that it was set in the city of Tokyo, which is currently ranked as my number 2 favorite foreign city that I would like to visit one day, deeply interested me, as well as my interest in Japanese culture, so that was enough for me to want to give this game a try. Now, having played this game, I can openly say that while there's a lot about this game that I think is okay, there is not a lot of aspects about it that I think are truly great, and this is certainly not a game for everyone. Now, the main story has you take control of a civilian named Akito who wakes up and finds that a mysterious fog has appeared all across Tokyo, causing the entire population to disappear, and the only thing that kept Akito from disappearing is the presence of a spirit detective named KK who entered his body, granting Akito access to his powers. After Akito makes his way to a nearby hospital where his injured sister is located, she is immediately kidnapped by a mysterious man in a mask who seems to be the cause of everything that is happening in Tokyo. While both KK and Akito have their own personal agendas, the two agree to work together to not only rescue Akito's sister, but to stop the man in the mask and return the city of Tokyo back to normal. While the main story of Ghostwire Tokyo is simple to a degree, I unfortunately found it not all that interesting, and at times very much unfocused. There is not a single aspect of this game's main plot that I felt was very strong, and this applies even to the side missions, as many of them are inconsistent in terms of their length, as some can be completed in 10 to 15 minutes, while others can be completed in just a few minutes, and the plot to many of these side missions is either repetitive or downright ridiculous, and to me were just put in the game to either grant you more experience or make this game unnecessarily longer. Now, this also doesn't help that none of these side mission stories actually add to the main story, which means to me they just felt like a waste of time. When it comes to the game's cast of characters, the two primary leads of Akito and KK are sort of one note, with their dynamic of the relationship simply being based on the fact that the man in the mask had messed with both of them, and since KK needs a body and Akito needs powers, they have to work together in order to get what they want. The main antagonist is not given nearly enough time to be fully fleshed out, and once you find out what he's actually trying to pull off, it's not very compelling. Key story plot points are spread so far apart between gameplay periods that I actually started forgetting about main side characters that sort of pop in and out of cutscenes. And if you stick strictly to the main story missions, you can complete this game in just about 20 hours. But in my experience with Ghostwire Tokyo, this plot is something that I'm pretty sure I won't remember much in about 2 weeks from now. When it comes to its gameplay style, this action-adventure title is done in a first-person perspective and is divided between exploration and combat, with a solid amount of RPG elements thrown in. When it comes to exploration, you'll spend the majority of your time exploring the deserted city of Tokyo, and the amount of detail throughout the city is simply incredible, as there are multiple areas spread throughout the city that give each area a distinctive look. There are multiple buildings that you can explore, along with many underground tunnels that you can visit. If you wish to make your way to a higher elevation, you can either choose to go up some stairs, or take the more fun route by using your powers to grab what appears to be a harmless flying demon to help you reach the rooftops of buildings very quickly. And once you've reached a higher elevation, you can actually use your power to glide to move across rooftops. To gain access to a large selection of Tokyo, you will need to make your way to Torii shrines located across the city, and once cleansed, they will clear out the fog, allowing you to access more of the city. As you explore across the city, you will encounter many lost spirits that you can collect, and once you've collected a certain number of them, you can then make your way to a phone booth and exchange them for experience points. As you collect lost souls, complete main missions, and side missions, you will collect skill points, and these skill points can then be used to enhance the performance of your magical attacks or equipment. You can also collect money to purchase items like consumables to restore your health, different outfits to equip Akito, and other items that can be used to complete specific tasks throughout the game. When it comes to combat, you will have access to a collection of magical spells and equipment to aid you throughout the game. Early on, you will gain access to the 3 primary magical spells of Wind, Water, and Fire, which each spell having 2 different attack variations while performing the use of Kujukiri hand gestures. There is a quick standard attack by simply pressing the R2 button, and a powerful charge up attack by holding the R2 button down until the charge attack is fully ready to fire. You will also have access to a special bow that can be used to attack enemies at a distance, along with a collection of special talismans that have unique magical properties. Up close, you can either perform a frontal physical strike or if you prefer to take the stealth route, you can sneak up behind enemies and take them out with a single hit. When fighting off enemies, you can use your spells and equipment to damage them to the point where their core and their bodies will start to become exposed. And once you've done enough damage, you can then rip the cores right out of their body, and this can be done with multiple enemies at once. Now, my biggest issue that I have with combat in this game is despite the fact that there is a great variety of different enemies, their tactics of the AI are so one-dimensional, and this is not helped by the fact that your movement speed in combat feels very off at times. Because of the layout of the entire city being mixed between wide open areas and tight corridors, every form of enemy that you encounter throughout the entire game comes at you straight ahead. They don't try to get around you, they don't try to flank you, they don't try to surprise you, they come straight ahead with no change to their approach regardless of location. So all you have to do is apply the exact same spells every single time and you are guaranteed to win, which makes the game feel very repetitive relatively quickly. For me, I hardly ever had to block, use my bow, or talismans to help me in battle. In these areas, even the enemies that fire spells at you are quite easily avoidable, and as long as you get your attacks out first and faster, you won't have anything to worry about. This even applies to the boss fights throughout the entire game, as they can be beaten quite easily, and though I was playing this game on normal difficulty, I can't imagine that the challenge factor would have been much different given the level design of these boss fights being so simple, requiring only a simple approach to defeat them. While the lack of challenge against enemies can get kind of boring over time, I do appreciate that once you've cleared an area of enemies, they don't respawn when you revisit that particular area. When it comes to game design in the visuals department, this to me was the strongest aspect when it came to playing Ghostwire Tokyo. The enemy designs are taken directly from Japanese folklore, and just seeing them interact across the city was nice to see. The music that plays throughout the entire game fits perfectly with the different atmospheres that you will explore across the city, and I give this game some extra credit points for taking advantage of the DualSense PlayStation 5 controller, as you can hear KK talk directly to you through your speaker, and you can actually use the main touchpad to perform specific hand gestures to release trapped spirits, which adds a level of immersion which for modern gaming is something that I will always welcome. Though the concept for many ideas for Ghostwire Tokyo were quite good in thought, when it comes to how they were actually executed in practice, the final result is just not as good as it could have been. Well, I'm sure you can tell by now that I was sadly just a little bit disappointed with Ghostwire Tokyo. Visually, from the outside, this looked like it was going to be a truly fantastic game. But in practice, this is unfortunately the definition of a middle-of-the-road type game. It's just not a bad game at all, but I can't say it's great. It's a good, solid game. If you have any interest in playing it, then I would suggest you at least rent it. If you have an Xbox, therefore, since this is a time exclusive for PlayStation and PC, I think you can wait a whole year for it to be released on Xbox Pass. This isn't something I think you need to go out of your way to try to play right now due to my personal issues with it. However, these might be issues that some of you out there that may want to play it yourself might not have with it. Because I think that though there's a lot of great concepts in a visual sense and a absolutely wonderful atmosphere in the city of Tokyo that, as I said at the beginning of this review, I still do want to visit in my lifetime, and this game just makes me want to visit it even more. There's just not too much for me to really enjoy in terms of gameplay or story, and once you get those two aspects wrong, then you have to work really, really hard to make this game worth it. So this is certainly not a full price game. I would not recommend you get this at a full price game, but if you can get this at a sales price, then this might be something worth adding to your library. Now, if I had to give Ghostwire Tokyo a rating, just to be nice because it is Tokyo and it does the Japanese culture and a lot of aspects of Japanese pretty well, I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. Good, not great, not awful, in the middle, and I think 7.5 is a good score to give this. So if you happen to enjoy my review of Ghostwire Tokyo, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to track me on my future videos for the rest of this month. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you all next time.